Obtaining a credit report, making sure that anyone who has the authority to pull a credit report, that they actually have a documented, or at least they can point their finger at the legitimate business purpose that they're pulling that consumer report. Make sure that you're monitoring for this, because if you have individuals who have the authority to pull a consumer report, then your examiners are going to go through and check to make sure that they're only doing so if they have a legitimate business purpose. Now, more often than not, that will be a or that will be a credit request, which is a legitimate business purpose. However, when we go in and we look at financial institutions, we find out that sometimes these credit reports are being pulled, and there isn't a credit request. Sometimes it's just somebody being nosy and they're reaching out. In fact, we ran into a situation where it was the bank president was pulling the credit report of his neighbor across the street, because they had purchased a boat and they were just curious how they could afford that boat. That's not a legitimate business purpose, and that would be a violation of the regulation. But we've also seen where it was well intended, where you had employees who were pulling consumer reports on their children. And well intended, because they wanted to help their kids out, and maybe their kids were thinking about, applying for credit or something along those lines. But you had loan officers who were pulling the consumer report and without permission and without that legitimate business purpose. So make sure you're monitoring for that. And when in doubt, get permission. A lot of times we have questions from like the commercial side of banks. If they want to come in and the loan officers would like to pull the credit report in anticipation of maybe a renewal or an extension or something along those lines. And in a lot of cases, depending on the circumstances, I could defend them and say, you know what? You have an ongoing relationship with this particular customer, and you've been pulling their consumer reports right along. I could probably defend you that, yeah, maybe you have a legitimate business purpose. However, maybe you don't. Maybe somebody would come in and challenge the fact that, look, you had no right to pull my credit report, and that could lead to legal risk. So when in doubt, don't just rely on, yeah, I think I can defend this position. It's just as simple to either give notice or to get permission that you're going to pull it. Now, the reg doesn't say that you necessarily have to have permission, but it might be a good idea just in those situations where you're not sure that you have that legitimate business purpose, because it is a little bit of a gray term that's out there.